The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv. And welcome back. We haven't had a show in a while, and it wasn't on our end. It wasn't our fault. And Steve, as usual, did his yeoman job. But it was the cable. And hopefully we'll be on cable tonight. But if we're not, watch us on YouTube. So we're back, and it's time.
It looks like what happened at the college was that they took a lightning strike, and it burnt out some equipment. So they're still working on getting that equipment together. The fire panel, I was talking to Steve before the show, the fire panel was actually, burnt out, and they had to replace that. And then they found that some of the equipment for the cable broadcast also took some hits. So they're going to try to finish that up today and get us back on the air. But we're on the air here, so it's time for Commander COVID, right?
Absolutely. No, Starfleet Commander. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Part of the Space Force.
That's right.
Okay. The state numbers are 221,174 cases. New cases is 2,845. Total deaths is 10,778. Now, there's two death counts on the dashboard. So depending on which one you go by, it could be 10,542 or 10,512. I go by the 10,778 because that includes all cases, including probables. The total new deaths is 30, and Bristol County has 20,021 cases. Here's the interesting component. Fall River, 94 new cases yesterday with 4 new deaths. So it's getting to be interesting because the numbers are going up. And I want to remind people, this is right about the time when the mayor had his fundraiser and coffee hours that we're now starting to see more of an increase. Could it be related to those fundraisers and coffee hours? I don't know. It's possible. But he may be having another super spreader event coming up when it's the lighting of the city Christmas tree. I'm not against, lighting the city Christmas tree and all of that, but the mayor needs to think about having these events so publicly. It's very detrimental to the people. And if they become super spreader events, then Mr. Mayor, you're responsible. Makes for some interesting information.
Well, look, but statistically, it doesn't count, right? If a politician doesn't pay attention to the rules,
right?
Right. So we can't really go there because politicians, like, if Nancy Pelosi wants to get her hair done, if the mayor of San Francisco wants to go somewhere, or somebody wants to jump on a plane and go to Hawaii to a seminar after they lock their entire community down. Or if Newsom wants to have a dinner with all the people that are making billions of dollars, the healthcare industry and the lobbyists, with no masks, indoors, and sitting elbow to elbow at the table. And you know what the thing that irritates me? Look, I know politicians don't give two craps about the people. They are the most hypocritical, by nature, by definition, they don't care. The only time they care is every 2 years if they're running for Congress, every 6 years if they're running for Senate, and every 4 years if they're running for president. And the same goes with local. The only time you see most of them is at election time. It's for them to remind you what a great job they're doing, even though they're not. But the thing that disturbs me is, and the people are partly to blame, just like we're to blame that we don't unelect these people, is that they blatantly give you the finger. They make a rule and then they walk. I think they found somebody, I forgot what she was, but she was an elected politician. I think she was like in a city council or something, or some kind of. They had just prohibited outdoor dining, and she left the meeting and went to a restaurant and dined outdoors. So but you know the thing that disturbs me about this, CJ? It's the fact that all they do is just say, "Oh, I'm sorry." The apology is okay. You can violate the rules. They're going to throw you in jail for 30 days if you have a couple of people at your Thanksgiving dinner in some states. They're going to send the police to your house. They want your neighbors to rat you out so you can face jail time. But all they have to do is apologize. Newsom can have a $350 taste of menu lunch with all his friends. And Nancy can eat a $15 a pint ice cream at the hairdressers. And all they have to do is apologize. But actually, Pelosi didn't even apologize. Newsom apologized. A few of them that get caught apologized, which to me isn't sufficient. But Pelosi's so damn arrogant, she didn't even apologize. It was like, hey, I need to get my hair done, and I'm Nancy Pelosi. So this is the thing that disturbs me about the whole thing. These these politicians not only exempt themselves from the conditions that they make everybody else live under, but when they get caught, they're not even thrown out of office. They don't even feel compelled to say, okay, you're right, I don't deserve to be the mayor or the governor of this state when I have that much disregard for what I've done to the people of this state. Newsom should have resigned. I mean, that's terrible. I mean, it's just, to me, that just goes to show everything that's wrong with our political system now. These lifetime politicians have become monarchs, and they don't care. This is not a political war. This is a class war. Working people against the elitists and the rich and the politicians. They have a special class of people who they want to run the government, and that's the problem, you know. And we have a different set of rules.
I agree, and we see this all the time. As you said, we see this all the time. Well, as you know, or as we heard this morning, England has the vaccine. They got it approved. Emergency approval of the vaccine. Now, here's the interesting thing. Right after that came out, people started posting stories about a CDC warning. And the headline says, doctors say CDC should warn people that side effects from COVID vaccine shots won't be a walk in the park. They're admitting it. Public health officials and drug makers need to warn people that coronavirus vaccine shots may have some rough side effects so they know what to expect and aren't scared away from getting the second dose. Doctors urged during a meeting Monday with the CDC advisors. The recommendations come as states prepare to distribute the potentially life-saving vaccinations as early as next month. Now, what happens is, according to the studies of the vaccine so far, and one woman who was part of the vaccine study said, one North Carolina woman in the Moderna study, who is in her 50s, said she didn't experience a fever, but suffered a bad migraine that left her drained for a day and unable to focus. She said she woke up the next morning feeling better after taking Excedrin, but added that Moderna may need to tell people to take a day off after the second dose. According to what is happening here, participants in both studies have said that they experience high fever, body aches, bad headaches, day-long exhaustion, and other symptoms after receiving the shots. While the symptoms were uncomfortable and at times intense, the participants said they often went away after a day, sometimes sooner, and that it was better than getting COVID-19. But they're the COVID symptoms. So it's interesting to see that already we're seeing the problems with this vaccine before it's even released in the United States. So we'll have to see what happens in England and then follow it here. Now, accordingly, you and I spoke about this before the show, that they're trying to figure out where the inequities are. And that, I look at the plans for the different states, and each state has a different plan, which is kind of weird. They kind of look alike and they're kind of on the same fashion, but in Massachusetts, it's first line workers, healthcare workers, first responders, and then nursing home patients, and then everybody else. So, and even that and everybody else breaks down further to people with comorbidities and so on and so forth. Because the vaccine is going to be rolled out as fast as they can, but it's going to be rolled out in batches. I'm not sure if I agree with that type of inequities, but what can I do?
Well, no, we had that conversation before the show, and as I said, obviously as someone who's a first responder, but listen, they politicize everything in this country by using the word inequities. They're saying that there's somehow some kind of discrimination in the dispensing of the vaccine. Yet there is. They're discriminating by saying first responders. To me, everybody should get the vaccine in due time. However, if we're going to set a priority, I don't see where an inequity exists if you say, let's look at this disease. Let's look at the people who have the highest probability of dying if they contract this disease and give it to them. The people in the nursing homes, there are people with the same type of comorbidities and at the same age that are not in nursing homes. So regardless of race, color, creed, or ethnic origin, if we gave the vaccine first to the group that has the highest probability of dying, and we know that's a very narrow band from statistics. However, if we give it to them first and then say, okay, first responders who come into a lot of contact with people, and then the general population because we've got the thing in order, I don't understand it. Well, I do understand it. That's rhetorical. I do understand it. This is all about politics and all about the rah, 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 and becoming self-important because you're making this big decision. It's like, okay, if you have an immunity to malaria because you have a genetic blood disorder, maybe you shouldn't be first in line to get a malaria shot. Maybe you shouldn't get one at all. But I mean, to be given 25-year-old first responders the shot first, when if they get COVID, they probably will be asymptomatic, is a waste of the vaccine. I mean, if they want to get it at some point in time, fine, because they do come into close proximity. But, you're going to let some 78-year-old, you're going to let some 78-year-old guy who's not in a nursing home with comorbidities walk around without the vaccine, and you're going to give it to a 25-year-old that just left the gym and got a full workout. If he gets it, he won't even know he's got it unless he gets tested. I mean, it just, look, one thing about it, I think Groucho Marx said it best, and I'm paraphrasing when he quotes, this is what politicians do best. They said, what politicians do is create a problem where there is none, establish a committee to study it, then spend a lot of money on it and never get it fixed. Exactly. That's what, and that's true. That's government at its most ridiculous. And that's what we see now. We got a vaccine. Okay. Who do you give it to? The people who need it the most first, right? No, but we have to establish a criteria, and we have to watch about inequities. There's no inequity. You got a comorbidity and you're old, you should get it first. So, hey, it is what it is, but we'll see what happens, as you said, but this time we're not the first guinea pigs. The UK is.
That's right.
England can be the first set of guinea pigs, and we'll find out that, and you and I had a little discussion initially about how is this going to work? Our scientists have been telling us, our doctors have been telling us that even if you get it, you lose the antibodies over a very short period of time, and you can get it again. So this vaccine is supposed to completely fix it, and you can't get it. I don't know how that's possible, since we've said that your own body, which is the greatest machine in the world to create antibodies, to protect itself, if it can't do it, and we're going to do it artificially, how are we going to do that? Because we know they've never been able to actually create a vaccine that stops you from getting the flu, because there's always some new strain of the flu. They can get some that can deal it. Is this vaccine going to be something that's going to continually change? And when you get it, 4 months from the time you get it, you will no longer have the immunity? I mean, there's a lot of questions, as you said. But, you know, all they're trying to do now is push the vaccine, as you said. As we said on our first show so many years ago, follow the money. That's what this is about.
It's all about the cash.
But as we're talking about politics, your weekend flush was quite the flush. And you brought up something that seems to be a lot of people are talking about this. There are some serious allegations that you covered in the flush, and the way it's being handled, if it's true, and you know, we have to go on. I have to go on and say that we have not confirmed this. There are rumors, and we have gotten people who said this is the way it happened, but we can't prove it until we get and we know that there has been a request for those minutes.
Yes,
so
there has.
We all know that the rumors abound that the superintendent of schools has had probably more than one complaint filed against him for harassment, sexual harassment. And I'm a firm believer of due process. I don't believe we should be burning anybody at the stake, but I think that particular charge, especially in this day and age, has to be investigated, and especially if there's more than one. And there has to be some action taken. And what disturbs me more than that, because the superintendent of schools is entitled to due process, but those people who file those complaints are also entitled to due process. And we hear there may be some actual lawsuits being filed because of the inaction of the school committee. So we have been told that the mayor recused himself on some weak-kneed reason, which really isn't a reason, because you don't, as you covered in the flush, you got to have an actual reason to recuse yourself, that someone's going to get a financial or personal gain from what you did, and that's not true. Looks like he recused himself because he didn't want to be the tie-breaking vote. And the school committee voted 3-3 and basically let this go with no action at all. And I just can't. I don't know about you, CJ. I just can't see that. I mean, if somebody, especially the head of a school department, because remember, this is not only sexual harassment; it's a sexual harassment complaint that's accompanied by an abuse of power issue. We know what happened at Fox News when people with power and station use that power to do these things. It exacerbates the problem. So this isn't a minor little bump in the road. And for the school committee, I'm really waiting to see the minutes, because I want to see that they didn't even consider a suspension with or without pay or anything. So fundamentally, we have an issue here where there is a serious allegation, multiple in some cases, and both sides are entitled to due process. But for the school committee to do nothing, to me, is outrageous. I don't know if those 3 people who voted not to do anything fundamentally have daughters. But I have a daughter who went through the public school system. And I can tell you right now, if I still had a daughter in the public school system, I would be at the next meeting getting arrested.
I agree. And you know, the sad part about it is if it was a teacher or anyone else in the school department who had any type of sexual complaint filed against them, they would be out the door on their butt in a second. They wouldn't even think twice about it. We see it all the time. We've had teachers in this school system which have had complaints filed against them and they were gone. No questions asked, nothing. They were gone. No due process, nothing. Goodbye. That's it. We've seen it in Rhode Island. Teachers that have been arrested, boom, they're gone. They don't wait. They don't give them due process, nothing. Boom, they're gone. What gives this person such immunity to any type of action? And for the mayor to have no balls in this whole situation, to not take a position, because any position he took, it was a negative position for him. He would not look good. That's why he recused himself. There's no question about that in my mind. There's no question in my mind. That would be the reason why he recused himself. Because the fact that his brother's the director of human resources meant absolutely nothing, because he had nothing to gain there. And if that's the case, then Mr. Mayor, you need to resign as chairman of the school committee, because then you can't act on any issues brought before the school committee, because human resources is involved in almost all of them, including the budgets. So when you take your next vote and anything is attached to the school committee, I'll file the ethical complaint. Believe me, I'm not going to play this game anymore. People play this game too much, and we live in a society now and in an environment where sexual harassment is not acceptable. And when I found out that the Me Too movement got wind of this, I pity the mayor and I pity the school committee, because guess what? If they decide they're going to come down here and protest or show up at a school committee meeting or something else and make a scene, they're going to have a problem, a big problem. Okay? And this isn't going to look good for the press, because I'm sure that channel 6, 10, and 12 have got wind of this, and they're going to be following up on it, and they're going to be digging deep, because they always do. So, Mr. Mayor, prepare for a bumpy ride, because it's going to be coming.
Well, to quote that great philosopher, we all know, Mr. T, I pity the fools.
That's it.
Who are on the wrong side of this issue. I pity them.
No question about it. No question whatsoever.
I mean, look, this is unconscionable. As you said, in today's day and age, with what we saw go on at Fox News, what we saw go on with the Kavanaugh hearings, what we saw going on, you know, and as I said, I'm not taking sides. I'm taking the side of the people, the parents who have children in that school, of the teachers who are subject to, if these allegations are true, to an abuse of power by their superintendent. And if he wasn't guilty, he should be exonerated if he is guilty. But I mean, not to do anything. That's the disturbing thing. To make this a kangaroo court where we go 3-3 and the chairman recuses himself on some bogus BS. Oh, my brothers. So what? So what? Is your brother gonna gain a financial gain by you voting on this issue? No, it's his job. HR, you read whatever report he submitted, and then you make your own mind up or conduct a further investigation, whatever you do. But to have the superintendent walk back in his office the next day like nothing ever happened with these allegations, I hate to say this, but it sounds a little like what the Catholic Church did.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yep, it does.
Sweep it under the rug.
Yep. And guess what?
Can't do it.
It's going to cost the city millions of dollars in lawsuits. Millions. Legal fees, settlements, awards. It's going to cost too much. And with the environment that we're in today, you better get in front of it now, because later is going to be too late. And that's the problem. We have a mayor who's burying his head in the sand, thinking if I hide, it's going to go away. Well, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And a lot of people are talking about this, and they're not happy with your actions, Mr. Mayor, and they're not happy with the actions of the school committee. Okay? And remember, you don't work for you. You work for me. You work for the people. That's who you work for. They're the people that put you in office. You are responsible to them, not to your own personal opinions.
Yeah, and as you said, CJ, I remember numerous cases where people were alleged to be doing something that was improper, and they were gone. That was it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we get the highest office where the buck stops doing that in the school department, and nothing is done. I don't know how those people could walk out of that meeting and allow that. And I mean, if I was on the school committee, I would have challenged his recusal. I would have challenged it. When he attempted to recuse himself, I would have challenged him on it. And I would have went on record as saying, I am not going to accept your recusal. Because that's what you're there for. You're there to be the chairman. You're there to be the tiebreaker. And how 3 people could vote against any disciplinary action at all when you've got these allegations. As you said, I don't think they should have voted, because apparently they didn't do a good enough investigation for somebody where 3 people could say, we're not going to do anything. And to me, the only reason you could vote to not do anything is if you did an investigation and proved that these allegations were false. Then you can say, okay, he didn't do it. He's not guilty. Okay, we're going to vote to do nothing because we have exonerated him, and this is the reason why. Or if we have the other side, these allegations have validity, therefore, this is the action we're going to take. To take no action, to agree with those actions by acquiescence. Remember this word, school committee, acquiescence. To assent by your silence. The fact that you allowed this to go basically undecided because of some political machination, maybe you'd better hold on to your seats in the next election, because they may be going away when people find out that you didn't do anything, because you have a lot of parents with children in the school department who respect what teachers do. And if these allegations are true, well, you got problems. If they're not true, but we should have the public, as you said, CJ, the public deserves to know. These are serious allegations. The public deserves to know. And if the superintendent is not guilty and he can prove it, he should be exonerated. This should not be hanging over the superintendent and those people who were sexually harassed, because now they're going to be intimidated. They did nothing to him. So what's going to happen now when they go to work? Talk about the definition of a hostile work environment.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the interesting thing is I'm waiting for those minutes, and I want to see them because I want to see the vote. And I'm going to tell you now, there are some people on that school committee which cannot afford to have taken a no vote, because that will go against you at your work environment. Because you're going to come out as being in support of sexual harassment, and that is not acceptable. That just is not acceptable. And as you said, acquiescence, that's what's happening here. Well, it looks like we're out of time. We're running down the clock fast. We don't even have enough time to get into everything else we needed to get into, like the city council meeting last night. But we'll get into it soon. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. And remember something. Hold your politicians accountable and make sure they vote and act in your best interest. Stay safe and stay angry and wear your mask.